Okay, welcome back to another episode of Live in the Studio. We are here with a longtime friend, Anna Cibbarelli. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you guys?
I'm doing good. How are you, Shay?
Pretty good today.
Anna and I have known each other for the better part of over a decade now.
Yeah, I think we're going on.
How old are you?
21. And we met.
So a decade. So the first show we played, you were 11. I went back and watched this video
Did you really?
before this episode. It was so cute. We were so young. I just remember looking at it, and I can't believe the video's on YouTube. I don't remember what it's called. We played Price Tag.
We did, and it was at
The
Costco,
the Evening Muse.
It was Costco?
It was the Evening Muse, yeah.
Oh.
And I remember like thinking back then, like not very much of it. Like your mom was just like, "Hey, will you come play guitar for Anna?" And we shared a vocal coach at the time, is why. And I was like, "Absolutely." And so we drive down there. I don't know what we're doing. I'm like 15. I've got the bangs. I'm like barely looking at anyone. Just, I think nervous, but I couldn't tell you. Like I don't remember my mindset. But you were such a bold little kid. Like the fact that you did that, I was like looking back now. I'm like, I can't believe you did that at 11 years old. What? Like I'm already sidetracked from what I said I was going to ask you first. Give yourself an introduction. Say what you do. I know you're in a band, so give us your. I don't want to jump too far in.
No. So I am. Well, we already said my name. My name is Anna Cibbarelli. I am a freshly graduated musical theater, not student anymore, but musical theater person. I also sing. I front for the band VHS. Vintage Harmonic Symphony. We do have an album coming out. We are very excited. We've been working on that for, I think, because I'm going into my second year with the band, so we've been working on it for a long time, but we're really excited.
Yeah, that comes out August
5th because it is one of our guitarist's birthday.
Oh, that's cool.
We're very excited.
That's cool.
And he's the one who booked the gig that day too.
Did he really?
Yeah.
like on his birthday?
He put it in the group chat, and Chris was like, "All right, so we have the gig at Formal Playhouse August 5th. What did And Bobby goes, "Oh my God, Bachner, your birthday!" And he goes, "Yeah, I know."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, just for backstory. So you started playing probably how old when you started like playing and singing?
Ooh, okay. So I started singing when I was like 5 or 6 because my parents were like, "Oh, she screams a lot. She must have something going on vocal wise." So I like auditioned with choirs and stuff, and then I didn't really get heavy into gigging and like singing really until we moved down here.
Yeah.
So I had to have been about 8 or 9, and I think I started with Sarah when I was 10.
You guys. The first time I remember was at a coffee shop. You played. I think it was like I think it might have been Valerie, and it was in a boombox or something like that. And you sang along with it. Yeah, I just remember watching you at that age and not really like. I mean, we were basically. I mean, I'm only 4 years older than you, so at that age, I think I would have been like maybe 14, and I was just also taking vocal lessons, and I remember everybody in the room being like super impressed. Because you were so little, but you had this just huge voice, and I guess for me, like now as an adult, I look back on it and like every gig I play, I'm like hyper nervous. So when you were little, what was sort of the mindset of like going into a gig like that?
I just didn't think about it. I was like, all right, we're gonna go up and do it, and then we're gonna be cool about it. I didn't start to get nervous until I got until I was like into my teenage years, and I was like 13 or 14, and I was like gaining consciousness that like people perceived me, and I was like, okay, that's awkward.
So sort of like a ignorance is bliss kind of thing.
Yeah, when I was like 11 or 12, I was like, this is great, I'm just gonna go up there and have fun. And then
did you enjoy it like when you were
yeah, no, I loved it.
Yeah,
I'm very lucky to have figured out what I wanted to do so young.
Do you think I always felt like especially when we started playing more and more, so Anna and I played that first gig at the Evening Muse, and then we basically went on to play a lot of other gigs. Basically anything that either you or your mom or somebody would ask. We went and played acoustic guitar at everything from like dinner parties at Charlotte to little tiny gigs. Like I remember one of them, we were literally like on top of a trailer in the middle of a field.
Oh my God.
You
Yeah.
remember that? Uh-huh.
Wow.
I was like, wow. And we drove what felt like 2 hours to get to the field.
Yeah.
Like it was just so far in the middle of nowhere.
And it was so hot.
Yeah, it was warm.
I still get emails about like the fracking website that they made
Do
us
you
sign
really?
up for.
I don't remember that. I don't know that I put a real email down.
I think I met everybody at a gig. Like, obviously I met you beforehand, but like I met Anna and Sarah, Michael, and like all that group of people. I think it was a Evening Muse open mic or something like that.
I think it was like a Tosco party.
And you were like, I'm playing a song for her, you should sing one or whatever. And I was like, okay. And then Sarah Michael came up after us, and then I met
it's just surreal because like you were talking about like when you were younger, not really thinking much of it. And at that age, I didn't think that much of it either. I just thought it was cool that I finally got to play guitar. I'm like, oh, like at a place, like not just like at home or whatever. And now I kind of wish I could go back and like recapture a little bit of like the joy of like, you're so oblivious to what's going on that like other people are like overthinking or whatever. And you're just there to enjoy it. And I try to hang on to that. I don't know that I do that so successfully these days, but so let me ask you this. When you look back at like all the gigs, what's like one of the most memorable ones? Best, worst. It could be funny. It could be like, do you have like a show gone wrong that you remember? I don't remember too many going wrong.
No, we never really had any like bad luck.
We didn't have like a super
I haven't really
like
had
botched moment.
Like
I do remember.
Oh,
I remember one thing that kind of sucked from when we were younger, which is we entered that contest to open for, I don't remember his name. It was a guy that you were
Ward? Tyler Ward.
And
oh my God.
And we got the most number of votes.
Yeah, we did.
And I remember like being so excited that we were going to get to go down there. But the people they ended up having play for them were from, I think he played in Atlanta, and the people the people who took second place were in Atlanta already. So I think it was like a cost saver kind of thing.
That's lame.
So we ended up, I remember being pretty disappointed on that one. That one I thought, oh, we're gonna get to go like actually open. Yeah, I remember that one pretty being heavy hearted. But do you have a gig you remember as like one of the best ones? Like, do you have a favorite one?
I don't know. I really enjoyed every single time we went to the Evening Muse. Like, that was one of my favorite.
Too. That's like a very classic Charlotte venue.
And we just did it so many times that like all of them each have like different specific things.
I do remember a story of the Evening Muse that was pretty funny from way back in the day. Do you remember what I'm about to say?
No. Oh, is this the...
I think we all... Yeah. We go into the Evening Muse and we had been there before, but I think the difference is that it wasn't a Tosco music party. So it was just a normal open mic, but we didn't really know any better, and we were still pretty young.
We were young.
And we go in there, and like, I mean, no hate, I don't really even remember what it was about. I just remember that it wasn't like, it definitely wasn't, somebody got up and did spoken word, and it wasn't PG, and I remember her little brother was there.
He was like...
And you and your brother were there.
12,
and you guys were all like 12 and 13. And everybody's parents
just went.
And like just covering the ears of all the kids like underage.
It was a little R-rated.
It was pretty funny. And I just remember like that moment being so hilarious. And we were cracking up. And it was like, I don't even remember what everything was about because we were just giggling at the fact that all you guys were getting your ears covered. That's a good time.
I remember what it's about, but I'm not going to say it on the
We'll keep
podcast.
That
one.
We're going to keep that.
This is a family show.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So we've talked about like, you got into music basically just from being a kid and your parents realized you probably could.
Yeah.
So they sort of had you try it. You entered into, was vocal lessons the first thing you did or piano?
No, actually. So what kind of happened is my mom was a professional New York dancer, and then she had an injury that she wasn't able to anymore.
Your mom did that like a lot, right?
Yeah, my mom was like, that's all she did growing up was dance. And she had a dance studio when we were little kids. So I started dancing really, really young. And then my parents figured out I could sing, and they were like, oh, musical theater. So they threw me in camps.
Okay.
And then when I moved down here, I became really good friends with someone who I went to school with, and she was taking guitar lessons from Sarah.
Okay.
And she was like, oh, you sing, well, you should take voice lessons. And I was like, yeah, okay, might as well. And I was like 10, and she introduced me to Sarah, and then from
branched out.
Here we are.
Sarah did like every was like, I don't remember if it was a yearly thing or whatever, but you do like a recital where she had everybody play
2 times
and that was where I think that's where we met. So you got started in music kind of through lessons, and then what was sort of the bridge into going into theater? Because like I know from my perspective, I really felt like, I mean, I knew you were interested in it, but I never saw you like actually go to like, I think maybe like college was where you really like started to go crazy into it. So what was that kind of like for you? When did that become sort of a passion, and when did that sort of I know when you were younger it was kind of mostly music, and then eventually it was like, oh no, like theater's really what I want to do.
I think so. I did a lot of camps when I was little, and then I did my first show here in the 4th grade right when we moved here, and I kind of fell in love with it then, and then I didn't really go heavy into it until high school. Okay. And that's when I was starting to realize, I was like, okay, well, do I want to do just like music, or do I want to do musical theater? And I don't remember what flipped the switch for me wanting to just do musical theater. I think it was because for me, I kind of enjoy doing theater a little bit more because it has like all the aspects of things that I love with singing and acting as well. Yeah. But don't get me wrong, like I love just like straight performing and just straight singing.
No, I kind of always, when I realized, I mean, so I am 4 years ahead of you, but I'm 5 years, I think, in terms of school, because we graduated at 17. So I didn't really have too much context for how much you were doing theater when you were in school. So for me, like when you did, I think maybe the first play, what would have been the first play we saw you in? I know we saw you in Ariel because Addison, my niece, was just so like taken because you had the red hair. You were Ariel, and Addison was just like, oh, she looks like me. It was so cute. But was that the first one we would have seen you in, or was there one earlier?
I've done so many.
I'm trying to remember.
I know we've seen more than one. I can remember
better. Yeah, there was one that was like, I want to say
Shrek.
No, that was going into my freshman year of college. Shrek. So that might have been Shrek.
Yeah, I think Shrek.
I think Ariel was before that though. We also saw one that was like, was it like an 80s musical
Back
or
to
something
the 80s?
like? Maybe.
I think it might have been.
I was in the 7th grade for that one.
Yeah, there were definitely earlier ones.
I think we did go to that. I think you're right. Yeah. So so for me, like from the outside looking in on that, and then you sort of graduated, and then I think it was cool to see you kind of take a time, like college specifically, and just really go for that specifically. And I mean, basically from what I understand, like those 4 years were pretty much just dedicated to theater, right?
That was it, musical theater.
What was the deep dive into that like?
It was a lot more than I thought it was going to be, actually. I thought it was going to be a lot of performance classes, because that was my degree is in performance. But there were so many like theory classes, like with the music theory, that I kind of got in high school because I did band in high school. But this was like a deep dive that I was not prepared for. I failed it twice. Did
you really?
Well, so I failed it once, and then I barely passed the second time.
Music theory?
Music theory, yeah. Because they had us reading like alto clef and like tenor clef, and I was like, why? I'm never going to use this. Why am I learning this? It's like learning calculus in high school. Like I'm not using it.
Yeah.
But and there's lots of other things too, like script analysis, and we have this one class called Hist and Lit, which is like really, really hard. But it just basically like deep dives on a bunch of other things, so you understand what you're doing as a performer a little bit better.
Yeah. And
it helps convey that story to the audience more.
Did you kind of carry anything from I mean, I'm sure you did, but specifically kind of like what did you find the most useful to sort of carry in from being younger and getting so involved with singing and gigging into like theater? Did you notice like anything that set you apart from your classmates that you kind of already had experience in, or just what was something that you felt like kind of helped you?
I feel like from everything that I've taken away from gigging, and everything that we did together, we didn't have a set genre that we covered. We kind of covered everything. So that's one of the things that I feel like I kind of am a little bit better at, is the different styles of things.
Yeah.
So like you can give me something and I'll sing it. You can give me something else and I can sing it. It's not, I'm not kind of pigeonholed into.
Bit of a chameleon.
Yeah.
You feel like a pretty natural. Yeah. I always feel like you always had a very natural sense of like rhythm specifically. I remember like working with different people in the studio and things like that and trying to explain like the timing of like when to come in, and you were never somebody that had that problem.
Yeah.
Like, and so I remember actually honestly being like, starting out as like a younger producer, and then like you being one of the first people I worked with, and then going to work with other people, and then like not getting timing. I was like, why don't you get it? I literally work with somebody who's like 13 years old and totally gets it every time, you know. So it's just you definitely have a natural knack for it too. So let me ask you this. I'm gonna kind of zoom out for a second, just on a general sense. What does music mean to you? What's kind of the most important like aspects of it for you?
For me, music is something that I like to put stories into, and I like to find things in my own life that like if I hear a song and I'm like, oh, I've kind of had an experience like that, I'll add it to like my liked playlist or something. It's just something that I can find find similarities in the human experience and take comfort in other people's experiences as well.
Yeah, like connection.
And I just really love the way it sounds.
Yeah.
Especially now that like I've gone through college and have been exposed to other genres. One, like choral music, all of it's incredible. Like you never think about it until you hear it and you're like, wait, that's like really interesting.
So you're talking about like what music means to you and what's the most important, and you said one of the things is like connecting with sort of either what's going on in the song and also just kind of the like the feel of the music or whatever. But what would you say are like some of your favorite artists and or like inspirations?
It's actually changed quite a bit. I feel like going back from like say when we had first started working together, I think at that time it was Hayley Williams and Paramore and those kinds of like they like considered emo bands or whatever. But now it's shifted quite a bit, and I'm really surprised at myself.
Well, your band is very different.
Yeah.
From what I ever thought it would be, which is pretty cool actually. So if it's not Hayley Williams or Paramore or people like that now, kind of who are some of your, I don't know, we'll just say like who's on your Spotify playlist right now?
Oh, I can tell you actually. Hold on. Did you? I mean, one of the staples that's like never changed is Sarah Bareilles. I love Sarah Bareilles.
Okay.
But newer, I've really been listening to Dr. Dog. I love Dr. Dog. Oh, well,
give me a summary of who that is.
You would really like their album Shame Shame. Okay. It's kind of like backyard. I want to say folk, but it's not folk.
Okay.
It's
like Americana,
country. Kind of not country, but it's very
sort of right in this somewhere between those.
Like pop, but I don't know how to explain it. But you would really, really like the guitar stuff that's in there. There's a lot of really nice acoustic stuff. The Vaccines, I love the Vaccines. I listened to one of their songs for the first time in high school, and I was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. I have stickers in my car. It's actually, and it's funny because of like COVID and stuff. People get into my car and be like, "Oh, like the Vaccines, haha." But I'm.
Yeah. Now I know your dad was a metalhead.
Yeah.
What are some from that era? Do you listen to anything?
Oh yeah, no, I'm seeing Iron Maiden in October.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, it's funny growing up on heavy metal. I've seen Queensryche a lot. I love Queensryche.
Yep.
Grew up on Queensryche.
What song did we play by them?
Silent Lucidity.
I had no idea who it was.
Yeah.
Somebody, I don't know if you brought it up or somebody brought it up, and I started picking through that guitar part. I don't think I could play that though right now.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, kind of for music in theater, right? So you sort of have music and live performance and all those things. You have theater. Do you kind of have a recognition of like what do you think music's specific role sort of within theater is? Like, what does that sort of drive when you're in a play and like the song cuts in? Or I know a lot of times you're talking like a lot of times it's just like sound effects from what I understand. Like the piano will do little different trills for different,
it brings
like,
the
kind of
along.
give people like an inside look into that.
So,
how rehearsed is that? Is that just somebody?
It depends on the show, because I've worked with a live band and with tracks, and with a live band it's a very different experience than when you're working with tracks. Live band, you have a little bit more flow, and you can, for me, I feel like I'm able to tell the story a little bit better, because with a track it's very, there's no forgiveness.
Yeah.
If you screw up, that's
you kind of have to follow the track.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't. But with a live band, the band follows you,
that's
so
nice.
you can go wherever you want to go with it.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. What makes a good musical is if the characters themselves like sing, like are meant to, like their soul sings. And it's hard. Sometimes you see it with more of like the jukebox musicals that take like pop music and then force them into a box in a show.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't feel natural. And I think it's a proponent of a good show is when the songs just come naturally and they feel like they're coming from a natural place.
Is there like a top 2 or 3 shows you would recommend to people? Because so I'm not a theater guy, right? So this is kind of the thing for me. Actually, the only time I have gone to see like a Broadway thing was with you and our vocal coach.
We saw Wicked on my birthday,
and I was probably 16 or 17, I think. And
we had nosebleed seats. It was great.
Now here's the deal. Like it was great. As in the singing was great. And like a lot of the things were really good. I just never like dove any further into that. Also, it costs money to go to do that. So that was one of those rare times where it was like an opportunity for me to just get to go. And like I had to go see a play with you in college.
With me?
Yeah, it was like a class you were taking that we had to go watch.
Oh, that was A Midsummer's Night Dream, but it was like a modern retelling of it. I don't know. It was a little
Did
weird.
you see it at Shakespeare Carolina?
No, it was in Rock Hill somewhere. I can't remember where now, but yeah, I dragged him to that. I had to go review it basically and write a thing.
With theater, it's like I said, it's just not been something that I've ever like dove into. I mean, I love movies and I love acting and like that kind of stuff. It reminds me of like the same way, like almost like classical music. Like it's just not something that I think like everybody gets into. Yeah, I don't think so. Like, I mean, we watch Two Set, like Violin, do you know that channel is? And they're always talking about how like modern music is so like it's related musically, but it's also just sort of a mystery, like classical music, like who's making new classical music today? Yeah. You know what I mean? And that kind of thing. And like they're one of the people that I think are trying to make like new classical music. And so I think it is actually kind of a cool thing to know somebody who's like young and wants to do theater and wants to make it a thing. And the more you watch, like even Hollywood, I watch Hot Ones a lot, the interview show.
I love Hot Ones.
I didn't expect it, but all those actors are always talking about the different theater things that they're in. So it is super popular, but you kind of don't.
Theater, so what I've noticed a lot in recent years is Broadway is like the holding ground for TV and movie people.
Okay. When you say holding ground, what do you mean?
It's kind of like your waiting room before you go on to film.
Okay.
Because I mean film acting and stage acting are very different, but I feel like you need to have a good theater base before you can do a good film base, because you can always pull it back, but sometimes it's harder to push it farther like you need to do for theater.
So what are the top 3 that you would have people go see? If they're they're brand new.
I'm gonna give you specific ones.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you guys specific ones. Based on my knowledge of what you guys like, I think you guys would be really into Hadestown.
Okay.
It's very kind of bluesy, swingy, but it's also like the lyrics are beautifully written. It's a beautifully written show. I also think The Band's Visit. It's not long. It's in only a 1 act. If you ever get the chance to see it, please go see it. It's so good. It's actually like I think the best show I've seen.
You'll have to tell us when they're playing.
It's so good. There's one specific song that I think you'll fall in love with, and it's Answer Me, and it's incredible. I love it.
Are those like available to listen to?
Yeah, they're all on Spotify.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Come From Away, I think you'd like. But maybe not.
Why? What makes you say maybe not?
Now that I'm like playing through the soundtrack in my head. No. I think you guys would like it. I think you'd like it.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of piggyback off this question. One, if you had the choice between your favorite band or your favorite show, like theater show, which would you pick? What would they be if you know them? And then which would you actually go to? Like if they're the same day, the same time, you can only buy a ticket to one.
So if I had my perfect concert, it would be My Chemical Romance, but 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge era.
That new song is controversial.
It's so good though. I was listening to it on my way over here.
I haven't really I've listened to it, but not very intently, just sort of in passing. But more so just watching reactions on it. Like they're getting pretty mixed reviews on it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean that's what I've understood. Yeah. Like I had some people that thought, I don't know if it was. I've never been like a overly like well versed in the sense of like I don't listen to a lot of My Chemical Romance, but watching different people react to it, I watched people who thought they were gonna be like really stoked on it, and they were like a little not. And they were more in the metal community. Mm-hmm. So was it,
I think people expected them to go back to like the Black Parade era and like 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. I think they wanted like that kind of like really emo, loud rock feel. And Foundations of Decay is not that.
It wasn't?
No.
Okay.
It has like the kicks in it, but it's not like loud the entire time, which is I think what they were expecting.
Okay. Okay. So My Chemical Romance is at the show. Who else?
Oh, I get like more than one?
Well, I mean, you get an opener at least.
Okay. Right? Like, so... You know what? Fall Out Boy. I'm gonna say Fall Out Boy.
Yeah, that's a very classic show. That seems like
I've seen them 4 times.
That tour has probably happened.
Yeah,
I would bet. I think they would have played together. Way back when.
Well, I remember I was gonna go to Warped Tour the last year that My Chemical Romance went, and I was really mad because I couldn't go. No, they're back, but
Warped Tour's back.
Not Warped Tour, but My Chem.
Warped Tour, rest in peace.
R.I.P. Warped Tour. Yeah, we'll say Fall Out Boy. Actually, okay, no. We're going to do Paramore, Fall Out Boy, and My Chem, the holy trinity, if you will, of emos.
Okay.
The emo holy trinity.
That's a pretty good show lineup. I think for me, that would be a show that I definitely would probably go to. But Paramore has always been like one of the bigger influences for me. Especially when it was still, when the two brothers were still playing guitar and drums. I just found instrumentally what they did with the songs. Brand New Eyes was like one of the most influential sort of musical records. I always had a really big appreciation that they would like.
And we never covered Brick by Boring Brick.
They had a unique like take on doing things that were musically like very creative, but it being sort of tasteful in the way they go about it.
Yeah.
None of it was very shreddy, which I think sometimes maybe I actually wanted a little bit more, but I had a really honestly, I was never much of a shreddy guitar player.
Yeah.
So it was just cool to find an artist that sort of was in something that I was like, okay, if I worked at this, like I could really create something like that. That would be cool. So they're very, very inspirational in that way too. Okay. So favorite theater show, who's up against that lineup? So Paramore, Fall Out Boy, and My Chemical Romance versus what show?
You know, I'm just going to say Band's Visit. Because it's my favorite that I've seen live. Band's Visit.
Awesome.
But emo Holy Trinity wins.
You go to the concert.
I would absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask you another question after. I was gonna ask you, okay, but if you could go see one or play in the other.
No, I'd the Holy Trinity. I would want to say I would see it and I would play in it.
What's the favorite role you've played?
Favorite role I've played? Oh, I really enjoyed Fiona in Shrek. I think that was probably the most fun that I've had in a lead role like that, because she's just so like, she's calm, but she's not. She's like totally psycho. But she's like super cool and collected about it. She's like quietly crazy.
Yeah. Do you think more about, like, obviously you do, because I would never thought about that. Do you like, how much do you end up thinking about sort of like where that character's at? Like, are you trying to identify with every character you play, or?
No, but it's more of a game of how do you convey the emotions that you want the audience to feel.
Okay.
Like for Fiona, like she's gonna be at least some sort of not crazy, but like she's definitely not well because she's been locked in a tower for how many years of her life. She's not had any human interaction. Right. It's like. But I feel like with like characters like Ariel from The Little Mermaid, like you convey things very differently in how you want the audience to see the character.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. So VHS is your band.
Yes, it is.
You have been in the band for 2 years now. Kind of musically, and I think kind of to your point earlier, you were saying, you know, you never really feel totally uncomfortable, like no matter what genre or where you're at, because you've been singing and doing it for so long. And so I know for most of the people that kind of know you, maybe it was a little surprising, like, because it's basically like a folk Americana band, right?
Folk Americana.
And so kind of tell us, like, how did you meet them? How did you kind of get involved in that? And genre-wise, like, what's been kind of diving into that more been like?
Okay. So I was introduced to John Knipe, who plays with them. I introduced to him my freshman year of high school. So I've known him for a while, and I've done a couple projects with him. And VHS had lost one of their vocalists, and I got a call from Chris, who's in the band, and he calls me, or he shoots me a text first, and he goes, "Hey, so I'm probably the last person like you ever thought you'd hear from, but we have this opening for it wasn't VHS's album at first. It was Chase Kilo, who's a good he is in the band, or he plays with us." And he had his second album, Sad Songs and Duets, that they need someone to sing on. And Chris was like, "Do you want to come sing on it just to like trial run?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So I went in and I did a couple passes, and they liked it, so they kept it. And then they texted me and asked me like a couple days later if I would sing with them for a Christmas show. And then from that point forward, I was just in.
On every phone call after that, it's like, "Can you be at?"
Yeah.
Okay, so when you first kind of heard the songs, I know like the other day we were talking on the phone, you said they sort of shifted. So what's kind of been that process?
So when I originally heard the demos, I heard a lot of banjo, and I was like, "Oh,
that's a lot of banjo."
I was like, okay, a lot of banjo, a lot of mandolin, okay. And then we got into it, and we kept moving, and then the guys were really, really good about keeping me involved and like making sure I had a say, even though like I was late to the project, and like they made sure that like everything that was done was also like to my approval as well, which I think is really, really awesome.
Yeah, they got to kind of you kind of got to have like your input on the your imprint on the record. That's cool.
And from what the album sounds like now versus the demos, there's been a lot of changes. A lot of changes. It's not nearly as country bluegrassy as it was at first.
So it's been like that whole roughly like 2 years you guys have been working on that one record. Yeah. That's awesome. It's awesome. I think a lot of people don't think that making, how many songs is it?
I want to say
12.
It's in my car. I should like know this.
Yeah, I'm excited actually to get to hear it. I think a lot of people don't realize like making a 12-song album, like, I mean, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of dedication.
And this one's so like intricately done because we have an overture, and then we have a chant, and then we have the rest of the album. But I think my favorite part of the album specifically is there's 2 songs. One of them I'm going to sing today. But there's Who I Was Before, which is like the main big piano solo song. And it has ties into Time Has Come, which is like one of the big band songs.
Okay.
And you'll hear it when you listen to the album.
I'm so excited that I
hear
get this. I'm so happy.
But
she said she was gonna bring me a copy, and I was like, yes.
It's in my car.
Okay.
But yeah, just, and lots of licks have been changed. Camelot, which is one of like the big ones that we think of when we think of the album, is very different. Originally it started with this big mandolin lick, and it was big and it was bold, which it still kind of is, but it was originally sung by Chase, and then now I sing it, and there's no more mandolin solo, which is a real bummer.
Aww.
I loved that mandolin solo, and I don't know why they took it out.
Put it on a B-side. Like, find another version to put out, or you can put that back in.
Well, Chris and Bobby are like, well, we can play the lick when we do it live. And I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, pulling back on a record is it's like, I mean, it's an easy call to make if you're doing it, because it's one of those things where we have a song we're working on right now, and I've been sending the demo to a couple different people. It's not my song, it's a client, and there's this just I like overplayed out like, I'll show it to you when we're done. Like, I overplayed so bad, but everybody that I showed the demo to was like, oh, that's awesome. Just so leave it. And I was considering cutting it. So I'm like in this boat, because I'm kind of a proponent of when I am playing on a record, and I don't think that this is for every record. Like, I hate it when I say this and like it's like a staple, sometimes overplaying's great. Sometimes when you overplay on a record and you're like, I could never do that live, you're like, maybe I should make something I could actually do like repeatedly like that. I weigh that when I'm doing it, the difficulty of it and things
to
like that.
be honest though, I've always enjoyed that. Like I haven't been to a ton of concerts, but if I've listened through an album of somebody's and then I go in there and they don't not completely change it, but if they do it like a little different live, that's always fun to me. I'm just kind of like,
see, vocally I should say, I always got bothered when people don't, not if they do something that's more impressive, but if they pull back, I get like I wanted to hear like I wanted like, so for example, like if the chorus to the song live isn't the same, and like I got a little sad when I was younger. Like I was like, I wanted.
Or like when they change the key when they do it live, they do it lower.
That doesn't bug me as much, but mostly I think that's because when I was going to see a lot of shows, I was musically inept enough to not know that they were changing the key. Like I wasn't aware. You know what I mean? Like I was probably most of the time we went to shows, I was and also like. So one of the first shows I remember going to live, like the band, it was 1,000 Foot Crutch. It was like a 2000s Christian. They started off as like rap rock and then went to like arena rock. Mm-hmm. Well, they put out a new album. This was back when like I went to the show and like I hadn't heard any of the new album. So like I didn't know if they were in different keys. You know what I mean? Like I was literally hearing probably 10 new songs for the first time, and like the album was already out, but I was 6, so like I wasn't buying new CDs, you know. I thought I was gonna hear the songs I knew, and I think I maybe heard 2 of them and then like 10 other ones. So yeah, that kind of stuff was
the one I think different. Of is so like I really loved Continuum by John Mayer. And he did a show in 2007 in LA. And did that album and a bunch of other stuff, but he does everything just a little bit different, and he, you know, it's John Mayer, so all the guitar stuff's like on point and whatnot, and so I listen to that album I think more often than like the actual one, because I just like how he did it live.
So for the record, what was like the process of getting it mixed and everything? Did you guid that yourselves?
Where'd
you record it?
We worked with Joe Miller at the Wave Lab.
Okay.
He did all of the mixing for us.
Okay.
I'm not sure where he sent it to get mastered. I do know that they sent it off, but I don't know where they sent it. Yeah, we do basically everything that we did for the album was at the Wave Lab.
Awesome. So what are you guys' goals? Like, so the album comes out August 5th. I know like the other day you were talking about like 2 of you are like really keen to tour or something. Like what's
Bobby
the
and I really want to tour. We want to tour really bad.
So book them a show.
Yeah.
Do you have an email for the band?
We do. I don't know it. I should know all of these things and I don't.
Well, if you pass it along to the Patterson Recordings email, we'll send it to her somehow. If you're looking for people to play. Any of them, if there are people that are looking for people to gig, we'd probably be more than willing to pass along an email or whatever. But
we really want to do festivals.
Yeah.
I think that's something that'd be really fun for us. And I mean, we enjoy the bar gigs. They're fun. One of my favorite things is so I just graduated college. What do you do a lot in college? You drink. And we play this one game called Rattlin' Bog, and it's like an Irish drinking song, and I learned it. Like, I learned all of the words. It's kind of like playing Thunderstruck. The chorus gets longer, but you keep chugging anyway. And we were playing a bar gig, and I was like, guys, we should play Rattlin' Bog and make the audience drink. And the guys are like, okay. So we, like, played a bar gig, and we made the entire audience play this drinking game, and I was like, I've peaked. This is it. I can't do anything else.
Bar gigs are always interesting because you have there's different versions of the bar gig, and some of them are like super not fun, and some of them are super fun, and like you
and I have played some bar gigs that were less than par.
I definitely have had I have had the occasional intoxicated elderly person like get a little rowdy at the show,
a little heckly.
Those are always pretty funny moments. You're like, well, we had one of them that was song requests, and like we didn't know any of them, and we were like,
that's always hard.
Yeah.
We were like, no.
Do you know this one? Do you know this one? We're like,
I hate when you get like parents who bring their little kids, and little kids come up to you and they're like, do you know this song? And like I had one girl ask me, and I was like, who sings that? And she goes, Jojo Siwa. And I went, oh nope, I don't know that one.
Not gonna happen.
I don't know that one.
Not gonna happen.
Sorry, kid.
So you guys are looking to tour, to play shows at festivals.
We started very, very dipping our toes into the water for the second album.
Yeah.
Bobby and I have started on that.
You're playing a song today for us. The song is called
Who I Was Before.
Okay, so tell us about that. Tell us kind of like what you're playing on and what the song's about, if you have like the lyrical kind of like background on it.
So I didn't write anything on this first album. Bobby wrote everything, but my interpretation of what I've gathered for Who I Was Before, it's kind of like everyone's been through that like really terrible breakup that just like destroys you as a person, and kind of finding yourself again, and you like face that point where you're like, this is terrible, I don't want to feel like this anymore, but also like I don't know am I ever going to be able to go back to who I was before I met this person in this situation. And at the end, it kind of is like you're reaching the end of the road and you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe I am going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. So.
That's cool. So sort of like a hope in a very tough situation kind of song. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, I am going to wrap it here. Anna, thank you so much for coming on. It was a joy to have you. Without any further ado, here is Anna Cibbarelli performing Who I Was Before by her band VHS.
I see the remnants of an open heart. Scars and souvenirs hang on the walls. The first to know, but the last to fight. Been saving all these alibis. Will I ever be Summer days, they come and go.